So, this episode is going to be a little different from what I usually talk about, drastically different. But it's something that's been sitting really heavy with me, and I don't feel right pretending that it isn't there. I don't normally talk about current events, I don't talk about politics, none of that on this podcast. And that's really the lane that I chose for my work, not talking about those things. But the last few weeks or months, especially, I've been finding it harder and harder to just keep scrolling, keep working, keep posting about normal life and not acknowledge what's happening around us. And this isn't something I decided to talk about because it's popular or someone told me that I should talk about it. It's because staying quiet has started feeling heavier to me than speaking about it. And so I want to be clear. I am not here to debate politics. I am not here to argue sides or to convince anyone of anything. That is not what this episode is about. That's not what I'm about. This is about what it feels like as a human to live in times where fear and violence and dehumanization are starting to feel normalized, and what that does to us emotionally and physically if we don't consciously connect those dots. So lately, I've been noticing more heaviness in my clients' check-ins, more fatigue, more like I just feel off, more emotional exhaustion. And no one is naming current events, but I don't think that's a coincidence because our bodies and our nervous systems don't live in a bubble. They absorb the environment that we're in, and I'm feeling it too. So I want to talk about for just a few minutes, maybe 20, something that I've personally wrestled with because I know I'm not the only one. There's this tension between wanting to be professional, wanting, I'll even say, to protect your business, wanting to avoid conflict, and at the same time, feeling like staying silent starts to feel dishonest or even complicit. I've absolutely stayed quiet at times because of that fear. Like, what if women don't want to work with me? What if people stop supporting the business? What if I lose relationships? And I've actually experienced what happens when you speak out. When you think you can have a thoughtful, respectful kind of conversation, and then you realize some differences in values are just not bridgeable. And sometimes that costs you. It costs you relationships you really care about. I've lost at least one relationship that mattered a lot to me because of this. And I don't say that lightly. It hurts. And what it teaches your nervous system is something very real. If I speak out, I lose people. If I stay quiet, I stay safe. So, of course, we learn to stay quiet. We learn to swallow things. We learn to just keep our heads down and focus on our little corner of the world. But over time, that kind of silence actually starts to take a toll too. Because when your outer behavior does not match your inner values, your body feels that conflict and it shows up anxiety, tension, irritability, exhaustion. And that's not just emotional, that's physiological too. One of the things I talk a lot about in my work is how chronic stress affects metabolism and hormones and sleep and inflammation and mood, all of it. But there's a specific kind of stress that doesn't get talked about enough, much at all. And it's called moral stress or moral injury. And that's what happens when you're repeatedly exposed to situations that violate your sense of what is right and safe and humane, and you feel powerless to change it or pressured to stay silent about it. When that happens, your nervous system stays in this like low grade state of threat all the time, not in full panic all the time, but not in calm. And over time, that looks like feelings of constantly being on edge, emotional numbness or shutdown, trouble sleeping, lack of motivation, feeling heavy or hopeless. And then we start to blame ourselves. We think, oh, we're just tired or we're lazy or we're being unmotivated or the weather's affecting us. But the body is responding to the environment that it's in. And right now, a lot of people, a lot of you are living in an environment that feels unstable and unsafe and frankly, morally confusing. Your body is reacting to that. So I want to say this part really super clearly because this is where I stand. I do not believe in violence against citizens. I don't think that should ever be normalized. I don't believe fear should be used as a tool of control. I don't believe any group of people should be treated as disposable or less than human. And that's not a political statement for me. That's a human one. And I can't coach women about honoring themselves and trusting their bodies and standing in their worth while staying silent when other human beings are being dehumanized around us. And I am not interested in debating policy in this space at all. I won't. I'm not interested in internet arguments, won't get into them. I'm interested in being honest about what I believe and about what living in times like this and how it affects our physical health, what it feels like, especially as women who carry around so much emotional labor already. Women, especially midlife women like us, are already managing careers, families, aging parents, kids, health changes, financial stress, and then we add on this background noise of constant crisis, fear-based media, and social tension. And we wonder why motivation is harder, why we're more tired, why our nervous systems feel freaking fried. This isn't just about food and workouts. It's about living in a world that doesn't feel emotionally safe and still being expected to function like nothing is happening. Part of health is acknowledging reality instead of gaslighting ourselves into thinking, oh, we should just be fine. I don't have easy answers for how to fix what's happening in the world. And I'm not pretending that one podcast episode like this changes systems. But I do believe this: staying human matters, not numbing out matters, not pretending things don't affect us matters. And protecting your nervous system doesn't mean shutting down your heart. It means being intentional about where you put your energy, what you consume, and how much you carry, especially alone. It means choosing how we stay engaged without letting ourselves get consumed. So if you've been feeling heavier lately or more tired or emotionally like worn down, I want you to know you're not imagining it. You're not weak for feeling it either. And you've also, if you've felt like a tension between wanting to stay quiet and wanting to stay true to yourself, you're not alone in that either. We can care deeply and still take care of ourselves. We can have values and still choose peace. And we don't have to pretend that everything is fine to keep moving forward. If any of this message resonated with you, I hope at least it helps you to feel a little less alone in carrying what you've been carrying around. As always, take care of yourself. Your body and your heart are doing the best they can in really complicated times. I know mine are. And so I appreciate you being here this week. I appreciate hearing from you after you listened to this message because this was a really heavy one and a hard one. But I felt like it was one that was required of me. So thank you so much for spending time with me, and I'll see you right back here, hopefully, next time.